So you've probably seen this pop up on your feed, right? Dopamine fasting. It's this wellness trend that promises a total brain reset. But what if the entire idea, starting with its very name, is just a huge misunderstanding? Today, we're diving into a great piece from Harvard Health Publishing to really separate the science from the social media hype. Let's get into it.
So, you've heard the term. And hey, maybe you've even thought about trying it yourself. The promise is so tempting, isn't it? A way to break free from all the digital noise and finally hit the reset button on your brain. It sounds like the perfect antidote for our crazy, overstimulated world. But hold on, before you go unplugging every single device and sitting in a dark, silent room, you need to know something. The version of dopamine fasting that has gone completely viral, it's pretty much based on a massive misunderstanding of the science, and that's exactly what we're here to unpack. So how in the world did this one idea just explode into a global fad? Let's take a look at how it took on a life of its own, twisting and turning into something its creator never ever intended. And when you look at it in practice, this fad can get pretty extreme. I mean, people are trying to avoid literally all forms of stimulation. We're talking no music, no socializing, not even making eye contact. The popular idea is that you have to completely deprive yourself to get that reset. But is that really what it's about? Okay, to get to the bottom of this, we have to go straight to the source. Let's see what the guy who actually coined the term, a psychiatrist named Dr. Cameron Sapah, had to say about the name he picked. And there it is, right from the man himself. The name was never meant to be taken literally. He says it was just a catchy title to help explain a much more complex idea about addiction. So that name, it's the source of pretty much all the confusion. The big takeaway here is that the name is basically marketing, not science. So this brings us to the actual science of it all. To really get why the popular fad is so off base, we need to do a quick dive into what dopamine really is and what it's actually doing inside our brains. All right, so to put it simply, dopamine is a chemical messenger in your brain. It's a fundamental part of how you feel motivated, how you learn new things, and how you experience pleasure. It's not some kind of juice you can just drain and then refill like a gas tank. It's always there, always doing its job. And this gets to the heart of the myth versus the reality. The popular myth is that by avoiding all the stimulation, you can lower your dopamine levels and let them recharge. But the scientific fact? Your brain's baseline dopamine level doesn't just drop because you turned off your phone. You can't take a tolerance break from a chemical your brain literally needs to function. Let's just pause on that for a second, because this is probably the single most important scientific takeaway here. You cannot fast from dopamine. It's a naturally occurring, absolutely essential brain chemical. The entire premise of the popular fad, this idea that you're actively lowering your dopamine, is just not true. So if it's not about fasting from a brain chemical, then what was Dr. Seppa's original idea all about? Well, it turns out it wasn't some vague wellness trend at all. It was actually a very practical tool designed for a very specific purpose. The real goal was never about messing with your dopamine levels. It was about applying a well-known technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short, to help people manage unhealthy, impulsive habits, especially the kinds of habits we fall into thanks to the constant pings and rewards from our digital devices. And Dr. Seppa was super specific about this. His technique wasn't about avoiding all stimulation, not even close. It was designed to target a handful of very specific, compulsive behaviors that can really get in the way of our well-being. And here they are. I mean, look at this list. This is a world away from no talking or no music, isn't it? The original idea was to help with things like emotional eating, getting lost in internet rabbit holes, or compulsive shopping. Behaviors where we get trapped in a short-term reward loop. It's about getting back control from unhealthy compulsions, not avoiding healthy pleasures. And his advice wasn't to go live in a cave for a month. No, it was a really gradual, manageable schedule for disconnecting from these specific problem behaviors. You start with just a few hours at the end of the day, and then you build up over time. This is all about setting practical boundaries, not extreme deprivation. When you strip away that flashy, misleading name, you're left with a core idea that is incredibly valuable, but also it's not really new. So what's really at the heart of this? It's the simple, healthy, and totally worthwhile goal of taking a deliberate break from all the technology-driven craziness. It's about choosing to engage in simpler activities to reconnect with yourself, with other people, and with the world around you. And honestly, this isn't some groundbreaking discovery. The idea of taking a break from all the noise is ancient wisdom. It's at the core of mindfulness meditation, it's in religious traditions like a Sabbath day of rest. When you really get down to it, dopamine fasting is just a modern rebranding of this timeless practice, packaged for our digital age. And that's really why this all matters. It's a perfect example of how an old common sense idea can get a scientific sounding name slapped on it and turn into a viral trend that completely misses the original helpful point. It's a great reminder to always look past the hype.
So, in the end, maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. The challenge isn't figuring out how to manipulate a brain chemical. The real question, the one we all need to be asking, is this: in a world that is designed to steal our attention, how do we consciously and deliberately reclaim it? That's the real challenge. Thanks for tuning in.